Welcome to Per Her Perspective, a podcast of raw, relatable conversations on leadership, challenges, and solutions in running a business, often with the support of smart peers. The show inspires business owners to grow, make bold decisions, and go bigger with confidence. I'm your host, Marla Noel. Let's get started. Welcome to Per Her Perspective. My name is Marla Noel. I'm your host today. And I'm interviewing Nicole Odom-Hardnett.
Correct.
She is a PhD visionary entrepreneur and a dynamic serial entrepreneur. Respected author and nationally recognized thought leader with a steadfast commitment to transforming lives, systems, and communities with an entrepreneurial spirit fueled by purpose. She's built a legacy of innovative leadership and service across multiple industries. She's a visionary founder and CEO of FocusPoint Solutions, operating as FocusPoint Behavioral Health, a high-impact behavioral health organization established in 2010 under Dr. Hardnett's leadership. FocusPoint has grown from a single site provider into multi-location enterprise, offering comprehensive mental and behavioral health services with a focus on accessibility, so important these days, quality and holistic care. The organization now services hundreds of clients, and she now is marking the launch of FocusPoint Franchising, which is a scalable model designed to expand access to mental health services nationwide. So I said nationwide earlier, but that's what we're working on, right?
You're right. You're right.
Good. Okay. Well, it's so nice to get to meet you. And my first question is, what is it that motivated you to start this business?
Well, Marla, first, thank you for the invitation. I definitely appreciate being here today. I would say what motivated me was there was and there still is a need for substance abuse treatment and mental health treatment, just across the U.S. and probably worldwide, I'm sure.
I agree with you there. So tell me a little bit about growing up. So where did you grow up? And is there something in your childhood that made you realize this is what I want to do?
Well, I grew up, I'm a military child. My father was in the Army and my mother was a civilian. And she worked for the Army. She retired as an EEO officer or manager at Fort Meade. So I traveled a little bit with both parents off and on, even though they weren't together. But I would say my most memorable childhood experiences were living with my great aunt and uncle in Virginia. I was born in Virginia, and I lived with them while my mother went to school and she worked. And my great uncle, he was like the community loan shark. He was responsible for bailing people out of jail. He sold loose cigarettes. So no one else in my family that I know of anyway is in business. So I would say that's where I got the whole, I guess, business mindset. That was my first experience. And when I stayed with them, I was probably I was from 5 to 7. I remember that time frame of living with my aunt and uncle. But in the arena that I'm in now, I think this really came from just years of experience working with this population in different facets of employment. And even I can remember, even as a little girl, I just liked helping people. And that's always been my passion.
Yeah. That's so good to hear, because I hate to say it, not enough people have that spirit.
It is so true. It's a very rewarding experience just knowing that you are the one that's responsible for someone's sobriety. It's great because so many people they they don't understand what it's like, I guess, for someone to say, "Oh, I have a week clean," or "I have 30 days." Some of the clients that are in my program have never met a milestone with that. So it's a privilege and definitely an honor to be a part of something great for someone else.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, because this is not on the list of questions, but I know when I was a kid, my parents were always doing charity work. So did you see that from your great aunt and uncle?
So what we did, I can remember we had a elderly couple that were across the street from us on, I think it was on Saturdays, Saturday morning. We would go across the street and I would help her prepare their meal. I remember they ate oatmeal, and after that I couldn't stand oatmeal or Jello. But we used to provide their breakfast and lunch, and I believe their daughter, she worked on Saturday mornings, and she didn't have anyone else to look after the couple. So that was my job along with my great aunt. That's what we did on Saturdays. And I can remember that when I stayed with them, that's what we did every Saturday. And I think some days during the week. And in that, I started my medical career as a CNA, GNA. So I'm still in that helping capacity. And it just grew from there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's an important lesson that not everybody gets when
Right.
they're younger. And so I realize some of the people in my world, if they didn't have that influence growing up, they look at me like, why are you doing that for people?
Right. Right.
There's a reason. Um, so you're running a business as well as making a difference in people's lives. I mean, part of that is running a business. And so, while you were starting that business, what was it that challenged you the most in getting started?
I think, once I got started, so I've had a few businesses prior to Focus Point. So the Focus Point has been I guess, the longest standing, and the one that I put most of my passion behind. I think the challenges really came in during the initial process of starting up, the whole licensing process, because there was such a long wait. I can remember with my first Focus Point Behavioral Health location, I secured and was approved for the property on August the 30th, which is my birthday. Um, so on August the 30th, I completed the application and got the approval like later that evening. And
I don't know when this podcast is going to air, but I'm going to say happy birthday, because it was just a few days ago that you had a birthday. So happy
right,
birthday.
thank you,
Sorry.
thank you. I appreciate that. No problem. So on August 30th was I secured the location, my first location, and it wasn't until November of that same year. So this is in 2016 for Focus Point Behavioral Health when I got actually my license. So you can't apply for other credentials like your Medicaid, Medicare, and those type of things until you get licensed. And no, the survey didn't come out until uh March of 2017. So from August to
Uh,
March, I am responsible for the rent, the utilities, and licensing fees. So that was extremely stressful for me because no one could tell you, how long you're going to have to wait. It's just a wait. And I'm right next door to parole and probation, which was very busy, and they're asking every day, okay, when are you going to open? When are you going to open? And for me not to be able to tell them, oh, I'm going to open in a week or 2 weeks every day, it's like, not sure yet. I haven't had my survey and those type of things. So explaining that to people who have never been through this process, and they're like, okay, you're never going to open. So,
and one of the things that I think about is, as a lot of women starting businesses don't borrow money. What did you do to cover those costs?
So, fortunately for me, my husband had a very good contract at the time. So basically, he was giving me money to support the rent, the utilities, and those type of things. But also, I had maxed out the credit cards that I had with buying the desk, chairs, all types of furniture, copiers, and those type of things. So it was truly a blessing that he had a really big contract and was able to provide for me to assist me in opening.
Well, borrowing from friends and family That's like that's like one of those banks of the friends and family. So,
Right.
uh, so are there any disciplines that you want to share about what you learned about when you were running your business? Like, what do you think was really important to that whole process?
So, I mean, in business, sometimes you get a curveball just straight out of left field and you don't know what to expect. It's how you react to that. I mean, everybody goes through their trials and tribulations during business, whether in their highs and their lows, whether it's good or whether it's bad. It's just, I can remember a time where I just broke down crying. I was like, this is never going to work. And so I had my moment of a pity party. And the next day it was, girl, pick yourself up. You got to get back to this. You can't give up. So, being able to, okay, having those moments of sorrow, frustration, crying, or whatever suits you is fine. But as long as you can recover from that and don't give up on your dream, because there's always another question, another person, or something that's going to spark you and get you back on track. So you look for those people or those things that are going to say, okay, get yourself together. How about trying this? Call this person, a pain in somebody's behind to get things moving as quickly as possible. Like you said, the squeaky wheel, gets the grease. So you have to do what you have to do.
Yeah. So, what is really important, what you just said, you asked for help.
Mhm.
So, and you're part of WPO, Women's Presidents Organization.
Right.
So, how has that group made a difference in your running your business?
I think WPO has made a big impact on me being able to run the business effectively. One thing is these women, they are powerhouses beyond belief, first and foremost. In our group circles every month or the conferences, I listen to what people are doing that are making them successful, making their business grow and thrive. And that way I know if I'm on the right track or maybe I should tweak some things. So being in the room with these women has really helped me to know, okay, you should do this or let's try this. Or if I have a problem, I can come to them and say, look, I'm having a problem with this. Has anyone been through this situation before?
Mhm.
The one thing that I really learned is when you get to a certain amount, because I'm in the seven figures now, that a CPA is needed, which was the best piece of information that I received from one of our groups in one of the conference. It was verified, so I've heard it twice. And so that's what I've obtained. I've been working with, actually, she's a WPO sister. And I've been working with her for the last, I think it's almost been 2 years now. And so I'm able to really grab a hold of my finances and know exactly what direction the company is going.
Good. I are a CPA. So, of course, I think that's important. But it's and so many business owners don't figure out what a balance sheet is until they've had the business for so many years.
Right. Right. Or either you can't buy a house, you can't buy a car, you can't buy property. So, those things are very important. It's once if you really want to grow your money, you need to work with a professional to assist you in growing.
Yeah, I agree. Is there anything that you wish you had done sooner in running your business?
I wish I had done sooner. Probably getting this a CPA.
Yeah. So, okay, so one thing I think I found interesting is that you have a blended family with 7 children.
Yes.
How are those Thanksgiving dinners?
Thanksgiving is not as packed as Christmas because since we're blended, we have some kids that spend their holidays with the other parent.
Mm.
But Christmas is definitely our family's holiday. So most of the kids, if not all of them, at one time or another, usually we'll maybe miss one in a Christmas setting. But usually the house is packed. So everyone
Okay.
has their room that they like and the food that they want. They send Christmas lists and these kids are older. The youngest is 23,
And they
but
still want their favorite food,
they
right?
still want their favorite food. I mean, Christmas in my house is so serious that I've already made arrangements and scheduled a date for the Christmas decorations to go up. Exactly.
That's awesome. I
Right.
should do that, actually. Very smart of you. So, you're founder of IQ Focus, which is a cutting edge electronic medical record system, EMR, tailored to the needs of behavioral health care providers. How does that work?
So I have had a electronic medical record system probably, I don't know, 6 months into opening the FocusPoint Behavioral Health portion of the
Wow.
company. So I'm on my second one. And within that, I have several licenses. So I'm licensed for substance abuse, mental health, psychiatric rehabilitation services, which is another part of mental health, DUI, supported employment, and there's a few more licenses I have. So these are the programs that Focus Point operates. And in that, the EMR system is responsible for capturing all that data. Well, I have so many programs that the EMR systems that I currently have and that I've had previously have not been able to capture all the data for all the programs. Yes, it may work perfectly for substance abuse or maybe just mental health, but there are certain types of notes that are required for supportive employment or the other programs. And I couldn't find a system uh, that would fully encompass all of the programs and be able to take the notes and treatment plans and things like that effectively. So I was like, okay, I think there was one company that I found, but the fee was just astronomical. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just try to build my own. So that's what we've been doing. I
A
actually
true
work
entrepreneur, I'm just going to have to say.
I actually worked with another WPO sister on the building of the first system. So the system has grown so much that I had to really outsource. So now I'm working with another organization to, I guess, bring it on home. So we were there. We actually played in the system. We were working in the system for a while, but we still saw that things were lagging. So now it's going to be a powerhouse with the system. And eventually, once my organization, we play in it, we break it up and things like that, it'll be available on the market.
Wow. About when do you think that will be?
I'm gonna say by the time this section of it finishes, I've been told it should be finished by December, January.
Okay.
I'll give us 6 to 7 months to play in it. So I'm gonna say within the next year.
Good.
Yeah,
Wow.
hopefully
It,
sooner, but within the next year, I can say with confidence.
so you strike me as an incredibly organized person. Would you say that's true about yourself or?
Yeah, I would say at times it depends on what it is. I think that, once I have a vision, I try to line things up accordingly to make sure that I hit the target.
Good. Okay. Well, that's a lot better than many business owners because some of them just like wing it. So, do you have any regrets in running the business? Like, what would that be?
Um, what would be my regrets in running the business? Not bringing on HR a lot sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many employees do you have?
Right now I'm at like 50-ish. So it's quite a bit. And I know that is my weakness is the employees. And it's because I would assume it's because it's my baby. So I'm going to give you the honest to goodness truth. And I've been working on myself with making sure I don't hurt anyone's feelings or step on anyone's toes with that conversation. But if you ask me something, I'm going to tell you how I feel
Well,
or the reason why we can or cannot do something. And so sometimes I have to pivot, and my husband actually handles HR. That's what he's been doing for the last 30 years. So
good.
I just push everything off to him.
Yeah, that's smart. Delegate, delegate, delegate,
That's
right?
right. That's
Like,
right.
um, okay, you've got 6 books that you've written.
Yes.
So, which book was your favorite book to write?
I'm gonna say my first book was my favorite because it wasn't intentional for me to write books. I actually was doing a favor for a friend because she always said, "Oh, I want to write a book about my life and yada, yada, yada." So I actually, sought out to find her someone to help her write the book. Within that, I kept getting all these calls from, telemarketers or whomever asking me, "Hey, do you want to write a story? Do you have a book? That you want to have a story you want to talk about?" I'm like, "No, I do not." And so someone said, "Everyone has a story." And
Yeah.
I'm like, I couldn't argue with that because everyone has a story.
Mhm.
Oh, whether you realize that or not, there's something interesting, or whether it's your whole life or part of your life that has happened to you that other people can relate to. And once that individual said that to me, I was like, wow. So I thought about it, and I asked my husband, I said, I want to write a book. I have no clue what I want to write about. And so I was like, I think something happened with one of the kids. And that's how my first book is Blended to Perfection. And Blended to Perfection is about one, my life, how I got to become who I am, my personality, trials and tribulations, and my past that I've gone through and made it out successfully. But also, it talks about a few of the kids in the book and how our relationships are, things that I've gone through with them, onto me opening my first location, being in business, and what that experience is like. So Blended Perfection was definitely therapeutic for me because I did a lot of reflection.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so you have experiences about your children in the book. Did any of them object to what's in the book or?
No, no, because everything was truthful. I didn't go really, really deep, even though one of them said that, he didn't mind me sharing his experience because a lot of people are going through this. A child who has an addiction.
Mhm.
And that is a hard thing. And for someone to go through that and not have anyone to talk to, because I didn't have any friends that experienced that. Yeah, he was definitely willing for me to talk about it.
So I'm wondering, since you said you don't have any friends that experience that, but I'm learning there are probably a lot more people out there that have experienced that, but they're not talking about it.
Exactly. Yeah, none of my girlfriends or, guy friends at the time, or any of my associates had any children that experienced addiction. So I didn't have someone say, "Okay, what did you do? What should I do?" It was all instinct and just prayers, lots and lots of prayers.
So after the book came out, did you have any of your friends that came out and said, yeah,
I would say not my friends. I had one friend that it was probably a couple of years after, because her son was much younger, that experienced the addiction. Other than that, I've had other people who have read the book who have told me, who may have messaged me or something and
yeah,
said that, yes, this was very helpful, or thanks for bringing this to the light, or what to look for in their teenage child.
yeah. That's so important because if you haven't experienced it, then, so I have one of my friends had a son that committed suicide. And so now he's just hell bent to help other people recognize the signs. Yeah. So it's as a parent, you're not trained in that kind of thing. It's not, there's
Definitely
no
not.
handbook, right?
Exactly. You mean you just don't know what to expect when you go through a situation like that, especially if you have, like I said, no one to talk to about it or even understand. Because if you have a friend and their child is doing great and they're exceeding overwhelmingly, but then you have this child that's sitting in the corner and you're asking what's wrong with them, they keep telling you nothing. It's like, okay, what do you do? You have to keep going. You have to keep snooping. You have to keep asking different questions. But at some point, you don't know what questions to ask.
Yeah.
So yeah, it becomes, very frustrating. And then you look back and say, how did I fail? Where did I go wrong? There's that also, that guilt,
Yeah. And it shouldn't be guilt, right?
right? Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you
Or
have to
some,
remember that they may be your kids, but they are human beings also. And
yeah.
they're going to do what they want to do, what they think may be right or wrong at any given situation, at any given time. But you have to make sure that your doors are open for communication at all times, no matter what. So when they tell you they did something that you may not agree with, you can't, push them away and just isolate them or punish them for without talking to them. This is a different day and age that we're living in, and you really have to be open and have that open line of communication with your kids.
Yeah, yeah. That's such a valuable message. I have heard some parents that have gotten angry at their kids and shut them out.
Right.
And like
That's
that's
the
the opposite thing to do,
That's
right?
the worst thing to do. That's the absolute worst thing to do because, where do they turn?
Mm,
And luckily I kept going, I kept digging because I wanted to find out what is wrong with my kid. And this is
yeah.
before I got into treating individuals for substance abuse and mental health. So I'm like, oh, I just couldn't figure it out. But I think it was really through the grace of God that I got into his phone, and I don't know how I figured out his passcode or whatever, but that's how I found out that that was what I was thinking was definitely truth.
Yeah. So you just kept digging and trying to find the answer until you got the answer.
That was it.
Wow. Yeah, good message for parents out there. And it sounds like your business is constantly providing good resources for people in need, which leads me to a question that I have because you've done so many things in healthcare and you're such a leader. Um, and you focus on women's empowerment, so which is dear to my heart, of course. So what's your current focus? Like, where are you going right now?
I I'm looking at mentoring and helping women establish their dreams and goals. For instance, I had one of my bonus daughters. She's been in business for a while. She does hair, and so her dream was opening a salon suite. So we've been walking through the steps of that, and she's actually working in the suite now. She's in the process of hiring or actually getting other stylists or estheticians or massage therapists to work in her suites. So I do a lot of mentoring.
So should she be a member of WPO someday?
One day she will. Hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, do you have any regrets in running your business?
Regrets in running my business. I honestly wish that, so right now I'm leasing all my locations. I wish that I had purchased a building prior to this point because I'm looking at purchasing next year because I have two leases that will expire in 27. So I said at the top of the year, I'm going to start looking to purchase a building. And it'll
Good
be not a
for
building it won't be just for Focus Point. It'll be a multi-purpose
you.
building
Mhm.
so I can lease spaces out to other entrepreneurs or whomever is interested in a space. So
Yeah.
I wish that I had purchased property. And I've purchased a property before, but it was in an area where the building next door was about to collapse, and the city asked to purchase it from me. And so I sold it to them, and they made a garden in that area. They tore down both of the buildings.
Wow.
So yeah,
You
I
know,
think that would be.
that is one of those things I wish more business owners did.
Mhm.
I work with a few business owners that did not have good financial advice as they were starting and running their businesses, and now we're at the end of the road. And the only thing they have is the business to sell and not the building. And, it's like you need more of an investment besides the business.
Yep.
Well,
Yep. Working with the CPA, I've learned that. So that is at the top of the year. I'll start looking because it takes a little while for the whole license transfer. So I know I'll have to lease while going through the purchase and preparing the building if it's not already ready to just move in. Giving myself some time to do everything I need to do and get the facility license.
good, good. So, what has been the hardest experience when running a business? Like, wow, this happened and I didn't know what to do to fix it.
The hardest thing that I think I've gone through in running Focus Point is, so I am credentialed through for Medicare, Medicaid, and commercial payers. In Maryland, I have 4 locations, actually 5 locations, but 2 of them are they're a little newer. But during the time frame, we were going through a transition from one payer to another payer that works basically for the state. And this payer is where we send all of our claims and things like that. And I have a high Medicaid population. And when they switched, I wasn't properly prepared. So I was in a hurry up phase to get a line of credit and things like that. I got the line of credit in the nick of time, thank goodness. None of my team missed a paycheck. But being financially prepared for things like that, because as a business, I didn't get paid for a month. And then when they did get everything situated, it was estimated payments. So they were going off of the payments from the previous years that they were giving me. Um, but I had a lot more clients because this was after COVID. I had a ton more clients. So my money should have been doubled, probably almost tripled. But with me having the staff and their estimated payments, it was like, okay, I'm almost paycheck to paycheck for everybody. So it was really difficult. So really being financially prepared was something that I was not expected. Um, so it opened my eyes to a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty common, I think, in business owners not to realize cash flow
Mhm.
and some of the challenges. So good that you had a line of credit.
Right. Yeah, it just came in the nick of time, and luckily I really paid attention on the provider calls and our meetings that we had leading up to the transition, because if not, I would have been in some real trouble.
Yeah. 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 That's a hard lesson.
It definitely was. It opened my eyes. I have a whole fund over, stashed away just for rainy days, just in case something crazy happens, someone's system goes down and they can't pay. Um, I have line of credit, everything now. Like I'm ready.
That is so smart. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I teach a class in financial management, and I say have 6 months of operating expenses, which is really hard
Yeah.
to have,
It,
but it makes your life easier when you decide to do something big.
it does. It really does.
Yeah. What would your employees say about you as a boss? How would they describe you?
Well, a few of them would say that I'm very nice. I'm pretty patient. I'm a good listener. That's only a small handful. And what I'm hearing is a lot of them are afraid of me, which is, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Because I'm usually on our meetings, I'm very serious. I've tried to be a little more lighthearted, a little jovial. So they're not afraid of me. But I think that's kind of a good thing because they don't want to let me down. So I've heard that also
Good.
from my
Yeah.
clinical directors. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really hard having employees and you have a lot.
That
So,
is the hardest thing ever, to have
yeah.
employees. It's fine when you have a business and it's just you, then you only have you to kick in the butt or whatever. When things go wrong, you only have yourself to blame. But
Mhm.
having employees, if I did not have my husband to manage things on the employee side, and now I've actually hired another HR person because I found my husband's strength is in writing our grants,
Yeah.
and responding to RFPs.
Mhm.
So we've just hired, she thinks she's been with us for almost a month now, a person who is dedicated to human resources, which is great. So
Yeah.
we should have more cash flow coming in. We have someone that's paying attention to the team. And so, yeah, it works out a lot better. But that employee thing, for those people who don't know, who are thinking about hiring, oh my gosh, they'll promise you the moon and the stars on that interview. But then you're like, who is this person?
The what, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Yeah.
You interviewed Dr. Jekyll and Mr.
Hmm.
Hyde showed up at the
That's
business.
right.
Oh, funny. So it sounds like you have your personal life and your business life a little integrated. So how is it that how does having the business affect your personal life?
It at one time it was really stressful because so FocusPoint Behavioral Health opened in 2016. That was the licensing time. First location. I was ready for my second location in 2018. Or just before. And so at that time, my husband came on. He was working part time, which is helping me out with some spreadsheets, some cash flow, projections, and things like that. And then it's been almost 2 years now. He's been full time, so he let go of his business partner and his businesses, and he's been with Focus Point. And when he came aboard, that was a struggle for us.
Yeah.
We were bickering all the time. We couldn't agree on almost nothing was agreed upon. And I think that it was me because I was still really, really intricately involved in the day to day operations. And so we had a conversation, and he said, do you want to be a shop owner or shopkeeper? What you want to do? And he's
Oh,
like, you've
good
hired
question.
these people and they're supposed to do what they're supposed to do. He said a real business owner looks at the reports, comes in on meetings, and any new stakeholders that come about that they maybe want to meet you or you're interested in, you sit in on those meetings and those type of things. And so I thought about it. I'm like, okay. So I'm still like, whatever. But we were still arguing. I'm like, look, I really like this relationship, or at least I did before he came to work full time. I'm like, do
Yeah.
I want to stay married or not? So I realized that I had to back away and trust the process. So it was really, really difficult for me at times. I'm like, okay, what do I do today? Because I'm not in the day to day operations. Like I wasn't in the buildings all the time, but I was on every call. I was talking to the director like a couple of times a day. I was just really doing too much
Yeah.
is really was what I was doing. But I really, like I said, I had to trust the process. And once I fell back, our communication got a lot better. We talk about the day to day, maybe in the evenings or just before 5 o'clock. And if something comes up where I'm needed to make a decision, I'm notified, either on our managers meeting or on an individual call or something to that nature. And all I do is really handle the finances now. And I look for different things like the IQ focus or, the buildings next year and those type of things. That's what I handle, or any new projects. If we're working with, let's say we work with the moms program with Yale, it's a partnership with us, those type of things. I can add my 2 cents in, decide who's going to pick up those pieces and work on those projects. And then I just follow up.
Okay, you said something so important that so many business owners don't get until it's maybe too late. So I love this. So you talked about letting go, and it's like in the book Traction, they talk about letting go of the vine. It's like you let go of the vine so the business can operate the way of business. So you're working on the business, not in the business.
Correct.
How does that feel?
Sometimes it's a little scary, but that's just my own insecurities, my own anxiety, because, when you build something from the ground up, you want to tell it, no, don't, you're going to need to turn right, not left. Let's do it like this. You walk straight, just completely straight. So once you realize that you have a strong hire as far as your management team and those who are directing the individuals who may be on the ground every day, then you can kind of pull back. And it wasn't like all at once.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was very gradual that I started pulling back. But like I said, at times I'm like, okay, what do I do until our next meeting or until the next report comes out? Or so that was a little strange because I'm used to being a busybody.
Yeah. It's kind of like figuring out what your job description should be, right?
Yes, yes, and that's exactly what it is. Because I'm like, okay, what do I do?
Yeah.
So when things go awry, I pitch in and I help make sure we smooth things out. I handle bringing on new stakeholders or our labs or copiers, whoever we decide to work with, I work with those people to tell them exactly what I want, how the situation or product should function, or what I'm utilizing it for. So those are the things that I do now.
Good, good. Well, I mentioned something in the introduction about franchising.
Mhm.
So do you have what other geographic locations are you expanding into? So where are you going?
So right now we have a franchise location in Delaware, and next up is North Carolina.
Good.
I just had actually someone come to my Baltimore location and take a tour, and he's interested in North Carolina.
I just bought
Maryland,
my house in Delaware, so have family there. Yay.
well, we're in Ellesmere, Delaware. That's where the
Oh yeah,
location is.
I know where Ellesmere is.
Okay, and we're actually looking at, I'm not sure which other part. We haven't decided. There's going to be another location in Delaware, but we haven't decided yet. And that may be a company owned location,
Mm.
because the franchise location in Delaware is doing well already. And they just opened, I think they've only been open for like 2 months, and they're doing really well. They have probably 10 mental health clients already, and I think it's like 7 or 8 substance use clients. So they're doing pretty well. Get everything up and going.
So I was looking on your website, uh, which I maybe you want to give your website URL.
Sure, it's www.focuspointbh, that's B as in boy, H as in Henry.com. So focuspointbh.com.
Good. And on your website, you have a variety of services. Like you handle a lot of different type of mental health issues. Where do you see the biggest need, or is there such a thing?
Well, right now it's mental health.
Yeah.
When I opened a location in Baltimore, you figure if you open it in the inner city, because most of my locations are in rural type areas, you figure inner city, you're going to be slammed with substance abuse clients. That wasn't the case. We got slammed with mental health clients, unfortunately. And we work with a lot of the EAP programs, such as John Hopkins and the city of Baltimore. So mental health is a tremendous need. Backing that up would be, of course, substance abuse.
Yeah. So COVID impacted the demand for mental health a lot, or
Oh my gosh, yes. A lot of people unfortunately said their businesses took a decline during COVID, but with mine, it did not. We jumped drastically.
yeah.
And I actually worked with, there was a doctor, a nurse practitioner. She had a clinic in Maryland, and we would work together on our clients. So she would send me clients and I would send her clients, because at that time I wasn't providing Suboxone or Vivitrol or those type of medications. So I would send the clients who needed that to her. And we had a conversation one day, and this was prior to COVID, about telehealth. Nobody really knew about telehealth back then like they do
Hmm.
now.
Yeah.
And she said, and she showed me how to get registered to be a telehealth provider. Because I'm like, okay, I might want to hire a doctor, and we provide some for you to come and see a physician. So
Mm.
I'm an organized mental health organized medical center, so I can provide multiple services. So with that, I said, okay, let me just see what this telehealth is all about. So I registered. I didn't think anything of it, but little did I know, I think it was maybe a year later, that now, you bill through telehealth. But I already had my provider number and everything before COVID came out. So when
Yeah.
they shut everything down, I would say I think they shut things down on like a Thursday, but that Monday I was up and running with telehealth. So I didn't miss a beat.
Good. Good. I love telehealth. It's like
It's so convenient.
I don't want to have to see my doctor in person. Oh. So what states are you in, and what state are you going to? I'm sorry. You're
So I am in Maryland. I have 5 locations in Maryland, and 2 of them we specifically provide services for the court system. We also go into the prisons once people are when they're about to be released. They're 30 to 60 days of release. So Maryland is a big location for me. Um, and Delaware is our franchise location. And then I have Tomball, Texas, which is a pretty very new location. We're just starting to hire. So anyone needing a position for mental health or substance abuse, we are currently hiring. We were always hiring in any location, mental health therapist,
Yeah.
always.
Okay, so tell me what that town is close to in Texas. So people who are thinking that they need to go and see you or maybe get a job with you, what is that close to?
So we're right outside of Houston. So it's actually in Harris County, which Houston is Harris County, which probably like 30 minutes from downtown, if that. So we're very close to actually the Houston.
Good. Yeah, that's a huge, huge area.
Mm-hmm. Very big.
Mental health is a strong issue, but opioid is next, or substance abuse. So, do you see any? I know that there's a drug that I've heard about that for alcoholics. Is that something that you go towards? So you can take this drug and it will make you sick if you drink. Is that
Vib-
something that you work with, or?
Vivitrol. There. So when we first started our medication assisted treatment program, that was something that was really, really big. Was Vivitrol and or Suboxone. Vivitrol is a request only. And either we can give the injection or we'll make sure that you get the prescription and it goes to your provider for the injection. That is something we don't get a lot of calls for
Mhm.
because not a lot of people seem to want this injection because it's a once a month injection and usually it's given in your backside. And if it's given incorrectly, there can be a bubble or something like that. So this is something and I think only those who are really steadfast on their journey to sobriety, will go this route. Because
Yeah.
again, you do get extremely ill, if not even, possibly death if you drink on this drug.
Wow. Wow. So that's a commitment.
It is a big commitment. That's why I say those who are really steadfast and want to really hold themselves accountable, those are the individuals that we prescribe Suboxone to.
Wow. What you do is such valuable work. And I'm going to bring it back to when we started this conversation. You started with a life of wanting to help people.
Mhm.
And so what you're doing is truly making a difference in so many people's lives.
It really it feels good to help someone say, like I said, to be clean for 10 days, a week, 30 days, a year.
Mhm.
And they deserve to be celebrated because that's a huge milestone. Some
Yeah.
people can't comprehend what it's like to have this is disease. To have this disease and like why are these people doing this? Some people just don't understand.
Yeah.
It's no different than someone unfortunately having cancer or diabetes. It's a disease. It's not. They don't want to use.
Right. It's not perceived as a disease yet.
Right. It's not, and people don't realize there's something in the brain that says I need this. I have to have this drug to in order for me to survive.
Well, someday, maybe
Someday.
someday,
Yep.
we'll evolve as a civilization and we will treat it the way it should be treated, right?
Yeah, it'll be, I don't want to say normalized because it definitely shouldn't be normalized. It shouldn't be a
Yeah.
normal way of life, definitely not. But they won't look at it as bad as someone with a shopping addiction or a gambling addiction. People don't look at those people like they're the scum of the earth.
Yeah.
They like, okay, they have a problem. This is a sickness or this is an illness. It's the same with an addiction to opioids or alcohol or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate what you're doing. I think it makes such a big difference, and so many people can use your services. And thank you for giving me your website, because people can look up your website and schedule an appointment at one of your locations.
Yes,
That's really important. Is there a question that I didn't ask that you would like for me to ask?
No, I think that I can't think of anything else. I think we've covered a full range of things. We've talked about the blended family. We talked about the business. Um, yeah, I think that's it.
Where do you want to be in 5 years?
I have a 5-year plan that I haven't really verbalized this. So my goal in these next 5 years is to build this organization up, one, by purchasing buildings, give me some
Yeah,
property,
good,
and probably add a few more programs.
good. And then after that, what does life look like for Nicole? Somebody else is running your business. What does life look like for you?
More quality time spending with family. I have a grandson now. I have another one on the way. I actually have two grandkids, two grandboys right now, and I have another one that's due in
Yes.
March.
Oh,
So, yeah, being grandma, spending time with family.
nice, nice. Well, I thank you very much for being on my podcast. You're a fascinating woman and you've done so many things and accomplished a lot. And I don't think enough people realize that only 5% of women business owners are eligible to be in WPO. And what I mean by eligible to be in WPO is to have revenues of more than $1 million. Very few, less than 5%. So that's a huge accomplishment in and of itself. You're driven and you've done a lot of the right things to get there. So thank you for being on my podcast. I am really happy that I had a chance to interview you and to hear your story.
Thank you so much. It's definitely been a pleasure. And hopefully, someone will gain something that sparks their attention and put some wheels in motion to their next journey.